Hello and welcome to this episode of CIO Leadership Live. I'm David Binning, Associate Editor with CIO Australia. Joining me now is Ben Fitzgerald, who's Chief Technology Officer with Tennis Australia and CIO 50 alumnus. Ben, welcome.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Now, you placed an impressive fourth in the CIO 50 Australia in 2021. The judges clearly recognising the incredible work that you and your team did in standing up the 2021 Australian Open. It was a massive effort, of course, to help deliver such a marquee event with everything else that was happening with COVID back then. Now, you've been at Tennis Australia for 4 years, and before that, you were also in senior technology role with the AFL. For our non-Australian viewers, that's the Australian Football League, and also with Australian hardware retail giant Bunnings and Target Australia. How did those prior experiences help you during the COVID crunch time for the Australian Open last year?
Thanks, Dave. Good question. So my experience, as you pointed out, has been very heavily focused on probably sports and retail industries. And yes, fans of sports are very passionate, but I've also met some pretty passionate Bunnings customers, for example, during my time. I think with both customers and fans, they both have defined journeys that they work through in engaging with you in the event space. You might call that the pre-event experience, the event experience, and the post-event experience. Or in the retail space, it's really the pre-shop experience, the shop experience, and the post-shop experience. And I think one of my goals personally is to be the most customer-centric CTO that you'll ever meet. And so I think the opportunity to really define customer types, understand key points of their journeys, especially in that pandemic environment, and then to craft technology solutions around those was an enormous help. And so I think bringing to the table that experience and inspiring confidence as a trusted advisor making some pretty big COVID-proofing decisions was really important in successful deployment.
Yeah, and it really, the whole experience really underscored this sort of the point of sport, whether we like it or not, really being a business, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And so there's a balance between driving revenue for the organisation and business benefit and meeting the needs of the customers, and ultimately, in the case of Tennis Australia, generating revenue to drive participation in the sport and support grassroots, and that's critically important, and that then drives high performing players, which then come through the program to ideally represent at the Australian Open and other tournaments too. So it's a big self-fulfilling circle, and you've got to find the right balance across all those things.
Yeah, and of course the health of the sport of tennis in Australia really does depend on the success of the Australian Open. Now the 2022 Australian Open, so beginning of this year, which seems like a long time ago now, that was pretty much a return to normal. 2023 is probably expected to be a total rebound to form. But the whole experience of COVID, from contact tracing to AI solutions tracking players and their entourages, the global media pack, spectators, as well as managing the purchase of food and beverages, merchandise, especially in 2021, saw almost 10 years of digital transformation squeezed into just a couple of years. And of course, in 2021, the whole tournament was run without lines, people deferring instead to the automated system. How much more critical are digital technologies today in ensuring the smooth running and success of the Australian Open? And what were some of the key lessons you learned throughout the worst of the pandemic that are being applied today and ongoing?
Great question. And I think digital technologies underpin every aspect of the management of the Australian Open. And even in my 4 years at tennis, I've seen the recognition and investment in that grow in a really significant way. And as a result, the profile and the role of a very talented technology group has grown also. And I think the experience through the pandemic was a really critical test of that capability. And I think just in time we had formed a great internal group that had this amazing attitude and was able to help navigate the business through that period. I think in terms of some of those key lessons, I think one of the lessons from that experience is never underestimate what you are capable of. The task from the outset seemed unscalable, but we had to find a way, and we did. And so that was a great lesson in and of itself. Similarly, there's always another way to do things. Don't jump at the first idea or the first solution that pops into your head or that you favour. Really pressure test that and understand options that are available to achieve certain outcomes. I think it's also really important to have the right team of people around you, both in terms of the support and that winning culture and positive environment. Again, without that group, I think it would have been a different story through that pandemic experience. And I think finally, the learning has been that technology has a really critical leadership role to play across our organisation and any organisation. And I think, again, the pandemic experience really reinforced that. And again, I think just in the nick of time, had we assembled a really talented group with I think stronger capabilities than Tennis Australia may have had previously.
Yeah, and also the fact that you're dealing with an organisation. Was it the 100th anniversary of the Australian Open last year? Well, the tournament is roughly 100 years old, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so presumably Tennis Australia, in various guises, is potentially even older than that. How did you sort of, approach that challenge of bringing a very established and probably fairly conservative organisation along with you on that digital journey? I imagine to some extent, with their arms thrown up in the air last year, it was basically they were just sort of hoping that you were going to be able to, to bring the event.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think I use the saying, great innovation for business continuity. And so I think for AO 21, we had to find solutions for contact tracing and to manage capacities and to share very sensitive personal data and to meet government requirements. And I think to reassure players and reassure patrons as well. And so in some ways, it was a great opportunity to progress really rapidly and invest very heavily and build some confidence. And I think as a business, learn what it takes to transform. And one of my sayings that I probably sprue too often is that transformation is a team sport. And so I think when we started to assess some of those challenges and the ball was past the technology group very quickly pulled the rest of the business in to say, no, we need everyone involved in this to make it a success. And so that really propelled us and gave us some great momentum and ways of working and new technologies to use that I think we've been able to launch from for AO 22 and for next year's AO 23 as well. And the confidence is there and momentum is there. So there are some real positives from that experience.
And how more important a role do you feel that technology is playing, right across Tennis Australia? Because of course we're talking about tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people that play tennis in Australia, and it's a very important part of Australian sort of community life. And Tennis Australia is the sort of penultimate organisation behind all those community groups and so forth. Talk to me about how digital technologies are kind of helping you manage that and bring a greater degree of sort of cohesion and perhaps data analysis to that.
Yeah. Look, I think our work on the Australian Open tends to get a lot of the attention and is quite high profile, and that's understandable. But we are equally and enormously passionate about applying digital technologies to support our participation areas and grassroots and that component of our business. And we have 8 state-based member associations who we work with on a daily basis to support, and the appetite from them and from the participation realm and from what we call the deliverers of tennis to engage with, to apply and to use digital technologies is growing really rapidly, and we have a hard time keeping up at times, to be honest. And some of those key technologies include things like online court booking systems to make it really easy just to book a court and play with friends or family. Global tennis rating systems, opportunities to find clubs and coaches, customer data platforms, software for planning events and tournaments, software tools to assess how well clubs are meeting their objectives and key performance indicators, etc. And so again, the interest from that stakeholder group has grown enormously, and the role that digital tech plays in supporting grassroots tennis and participation is growing similarly.
You say global ranking, so you're saying that I would be able to get my global tennis ranking, do you think, at the moment through Tennis Australia?
You would, if you were playing competitively, David. You would have that through a UTR system, a Universal Tennis Ranking System, and so everyone who plays tennis knows where they stand against every other participant and player internationally.
That's amazing. How long has that been in play?
Look, we've done a lot of work to bring that rating system across multiple platforms in the last 6 to 12 months, in particular, and its profile is really growing. It's something we're very excited about. But a lot of people such as yourself aren't aware of that, so it's a really great little data component to playing tennis that really helps you track your progress and little things like just finding other players locally to play with. You might like to compare their UTR rating to help you find an opponent who's about the same level, or maybe not quite as good if you're particularly competitive.
I shudder to think what my ranking would be, mate. Do you have any idea what yours is?
No, I don't want to speculate on mine. Thank you.
You don't want to speak about it on a public record. So what are some of the key projects that you're working on at the moment as we head towards the 2023 Australian Open, which frighteningly is not that far away as we get into the second week of the US Open, which is the final slam of the year?
That's right. And the attention quickly turns to the Australian Open after the US Open. So we know it's sneaking up on us. But look, we take a really considered view of all customer types each year and how we can deliver better experiences for them. And that's everything from the playing group to on-site patrons to remote and international fans to a permanent workforce and the umpiring cohort, for example. And we're working on projects to deliver, I think, improved capabilities and experiences for all those customer types at the moment. A number I can't discuss, but everything from further improved and evolved AO app and web experiences to far more personalised and relevant experiences for fans and patrons to evolving, metaverse and NFT product offerings. But we think it'll be another great showcase of innovation, and can't wait to see everybody there once again.
Yeah, Australian Open in the metaverse, of course. That does seem to make sense. Well, sounds like some very exciting projects ahead. Good luck for 2023, and we look forward to catching you on CIO Leadership Live again soon. Thanks so much, Ben Fitzgerald.
Thanks, David. Appreciate your time.